The earth they sing. To us this day a child is given to crown us with the joy of heaven. Hi, this is Anita from Radio Cayman Sales Department, wishing you and your family health, happiness, peace, and prosperity this holiday season and in the coming new year. May the magic of Christmas fill your heart all year long. Merry Christmas.
Joy bells ringing, angels singing, all because a child was born.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush. Brought to you by the Health Services Authority. Caring people, quality service. Visit hsa.ky.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health. 2 locations, Governor Square and Grand Harbor. Refill and transfer prescriptions online. Call 947-8900 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky. Also brought to you by Cayman Medical Center, Cayman's most awarded private medical clinic.
And UHealth, International University of Miami.
World-class healthcare in the heart of Miami.
The Light Room, your holistic sanctuary for physical and mental restoration, repair, and rejuvenation. The power that made the body heals the body. 38 Pasadora Place, Georgetown. Find us online at www.thelightroom.ky or call 938-HEAL.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
There's nothing more important than your health, and seeking expert healthcare with physicians you can trust is what you deserve. UHealth, the University of Miami Health System, offers peace of mind to you and your family with a first-class experience. Our patient coordinators assist with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. As South Florida's only academic-based health system, UHealth offers cutting-edge treatment, compassionate care, and life-changing results just a flight away. Learn more at umiamihealth.org/international.
When I first started going to Healthcare Pharmacy, it was because it was convenient. But over the years, I continued to shop there because I trusted them. One day I was picking up my prescription, and the pharmacist noticed an over-the-counter medication in my basket. She said, "I hope that's not yours. It will interact with your prescription." And I thought, wow, thank you. Trust is so important when it comes to your health. Healthcare Pharmacy with 2 locations, Grand Harbor and Governor Square, where they care about my health.
Hello and welcome to For the Health of It. I'm Tara Bush, and today we'll be having an important and tender conversation about something many people quietly carry, grief. This is the time of year is often full of celebration, family, and joy, but it can also be a season when loss feels heavier, memories feel sharper, and the absence of loved ones sits a little bit closer to the heart. If you feel that way, or someone around you is walking through this conversation is for you. Joining me today is RHONDA Kelly, a grief educator, a woman who has turned her own pain into purpose, and someone who understands grief in a deeply personal way. RHONDA lost her mom last year and her sister-in-law, and nearly 4 years ago, she lost her daughter, Addie, to suicide. Welcome to the Health of It, RHONDA.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you I'm just going right into this. You now have a support group for...
Yes, there was no support group for people who've lost somebody by suicide. So I started that. It's just been over a year. So September was a year. So we're a couple months into our second year, and it varies. Sometimes we have a lot, and sometimes we have a few, and whoever shows up is the person that needs it. It's the 3rd Tuesday of every month. So this coming, we'll have just finished the one last night. That would be our last one for the year, but we will have in January, of course. So people can reach out to me, email me, contact us. There's a lot of information online on my social media and Addie's social media about the group, so they can feel free to email me and get the details.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And like I said, you've turned this into a purpose, okay? And not everybody's going to do that. I just really rate you for that. And I want you to tell our audience today, Well, first of all, let's walk into what does grief look like, or what is grief?
Oh, I think everybody experiences grief, obviously. And I think that, the one thing that I've learned, becoming a grief educator, I went through specifically David Kessler's grief program. His book, Finding Meaning, is what really got me back to work after we lost Addie. It kind of helped me just change my perspective a little bit and just kind of really, kind of get through it. But you never get over it. You don't get, you kind of just continue to walk through it, but hopefully get a little stronger. I wouldn't say it gets easier, but it gets more bearable. But I think, going through that whole process and becoming a grief educator has taught me that the worst grief is your own grief. So, my grief is my grief, your grief is your grief, and everybody's grief is the worst because it's their grief. And that doesn't mean necessarily losing a person. That could be a divorce. That could be losing a job. It could be pet loss. I mean, I know how close I am to my animals and you are to yours. And, losing an animal is very hard. And, the one thing that, you don't compare grief because that's not fair. People will say, oh, but you lost your daughter. I only lost. And that's not a thing. Your grief is your own grief. So grief is different for everybody, but universally, grief is pain, and grief must be witnessed. Grief must be acknowledged, and and it must be felt.
Yeah, unfortunately, I lost my dad last year, just before Christmas, and we've heard about the steps.
Yeah,
and you think boom, 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 and by this day you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, it's been back and forth. And then just recently, I've never bargained before. That wasn't something, and I was like, you know what? I wouldn't give to have a 5-minute conversation with Daddy.
Absolutely. And that is so, and again, that's a universal thing. Yeah. That's pain that's so true. And, there is no, the 5 steps of grief. You're not going to go through anger and then, okay, I'm going to finish anger and then I'm going to go on to acceptance. And, those are, I'm going to stay in denial a little longer. Those steps all happen. I think everybody kind of has moments of each. You do go through denial and, and there are parts of acceptance, but then sometimes you might feel like you're fine. And then the next day, it's like you're right back to that day where you had the worst pain of your life, and it's fresh and it's real. And that could be many years after it's happened. I would say in my 4-year journey after losing Addie, the second year was my hardest year. And it was just so strange because a lot of people put that time frame, after a year you should be okay. And going into the second year after losing her was just so much more painful and so much more, I can't even describe it. It was harder. And so I think it's, people, there is no timeline, and, you don't ever get over losing someone like that. You just learn to live better with it, or, or kind of bear it better, I think is the...
Well said.
Yeah.
I think you learn to, I think I accepted it quite quickly, but it's all the other little steps, and it's not a pathway. And I think what you just said about that second year, I think it's become more real now.
Yeah.
I don't know if a part of me was in denial and acceptance,
Yeah.
But it's really real. And as I go into Christmas, I'm like, oh my word. And, that book, the David Kessler, that has helped me a lot, that book, because you gave me
meaning. Yeah.
Yeah. And then his
website, grief.com, has a lot of great information on it as well.
Yeah. So and this is the holiday season, and for our listeners who are grieving, what is the most helpful things we can do, and maybe what should we avoid doing?
I mean, I think everybody should avoid doing anything that really makes them uncomfortable. Like, if you have to say no to that Christmas party for your own mental health, say no to it. People shouldn't feel obligated to do things that are really, really hard, especially at this time of year. I mean, Addie's birthday is the 21st of December. So Christmas is combined. Christmas is always celebrating her, and it's, that's always been a challenging time for us. But for us, we've created new traditions. So we honor her. Obviously, we do something for her birthday, whether that's watch her favorite TV show, have her favorite food. I've done gatherings with her friends and had them write what they would tell her if she was here. I've done, all sorts of different things to honor her. But I think that's important because I think, forgetting about someone and trying to push it to the side, it doesn't really work. It's, I think finding ways to honor our loved ones in ways that we know would make them smile is really helpful. So I'm going on a cruise for our family. So our new tradition is we don't stay home. We don't be at home for Christmas. We go away, whether it's a staycation or we travel. So we're going on a cruise this year, and on Addie's birthday, I am going ziplining because I knew she would do that. Like, that is something she would want, and I'm going with my niece, who is very close with Addie. So that's going to be something we're going to do. I'm scared to death, but that's going to be channeling her, and so for me, that's my way of honoring her on her birthday, which again is Christmas. It's, you don't have to pretend. Don't pretend to be happy if you're not, but find a way to maybe just try and find joy for that person, because that person's looking down and they want you to be joyful. They don't want you to be sad and crying for them. Of course, you're going to miss them, and they're obviously, and you're going to cry. There's nothing wrong with crying, but I would always encourage people to just find that little bit of joy. So among the tears, there is joy. We did a talk with APF, and it was Alex Penton Foundation just the other day, and it was about finding joy in the sorrow. And I think the key message with that whole thing is you can be grieving and be really, really sad and still have joy at the same time, simultaneously. And I didn't know that before I went through this. I would have told somebody it wasn't possible. But it is possible to be really happy for someone, but then have that grief inside you. So you can't have two things at one time.
Thank you for saying that, because, for the last month, part of my mantra has been finding joy. And in the simplest of things, could be my little puppy just doing something silly.
Yeah.
So thanks for saying that. That's just the duality of life. And to put it simpler, two things can be true at once.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So grief after suicide carries a unique emotional grief, guilt, shame, unanswered questions. What do people need to understand about this type of loss?
I think the one thing that I have said to other people who have had a loss to suicide, and I continue to say it, is that it had nothing to do with how much the person loved you or how much you loved that person. And I think that's important for people to understand. When someone leaves this world in that way, they did not do that because they didn't love their family, they didn't love you, or they didn't think that you loved them. That is so important for people to understand. And I think, I hope that's helpful. It was helpful for me when it happened. And the other thing is that we need to learn to give ourselves grace. I had to do that a lot. Again, as you say, there's a lot that comes with that, with guilt and the questions. But I also think a lot of types of loss do, because, you lose somebody. Oh my gosh, what if I had just gone to see them a little earlier? And that can happen for a lot of things. That can happen with somebody having a heart attack or something. You feel like, if I had just been there sooner, so there's always that. Give yourself grace to know that none of us are strong enough to save somebody's life. It's taken me a while to kind of get to that point of accepting that and giving myself the grace to know that, she would give me the grace, and we have to find it for ourselves. So that's really important for people going through grief, is find grace, be kind to yourself, and take care of yourself, especially when it's really the hard days.
Yeah, that's, I think, like you said, with any type of loss, there is our natural tendency maybe is to find blame, whether it's with the heart attack, or find blame to yourself. I wish I had, what if I had been there, or something else.
I could have done something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And letting parents know and siblings who have lost either a child by suicide or their, sister or brother by suicide, that it has nothing to do with them, not the person not loving them. It's just at that moment in time, the pain was more than they could bear.
Exactly. Yep.
Because it's Christmas, and I think we have so much pressure either to buy presents or be magically happy. What would you tell someone now who is, like you said earlier, don't go to the family gathering if it's going to be too much? What would you say to them about how to protect their peace or their mental health?
I mean, I think sometimes just communicating and being honest with people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you can't show up, I'd like to hope that we've reached a place in society now where if someone says to you, "Look, I'm just in too much pain. I can't do that right now. I'm okay to be by myself," because that's the other concern, obviously. If someone says that to you, you want to make sure they're okay. But if someone says that, respect that. So if you're on the receiving end of that, respect it. If you're on the end of it that has to say it, communicate it. Just say, I can't right now. That's just not something I'm able to do. And I think be honest and communicate is the only thing that you can do. But I think it's harder if you're in that place and you're just in so much pain and you can't be in that company. It's not fair to yourself. Again, be kind to yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure. When does normal grief become something that you might want to go see a therapist for?
Honestly, I would recommend anybody who's in a lot of pain to go see a therapist. Like, even if, you don't have to be to the point of not being able to function to need to see a therapist. Going and talking to someone, there's nothing wrong with that. I think anybody who feels like they want to talk to, the nice thing about what I try and explain to people about therapy is just reframing what you're thinking. So you can sit down there, and if you tell something to someone who really knows you, they're looking at it through a lens of a history with you. Whereas you sit with a therapist and you're talking to them and they don't have anything but what you're telling them. They can often reframe what you're telling them and give it back to you in a way that you're like, I mean, I've had, my therapist look at me and when she tells me something back, I'm like, oh, I never looked at it like that, and now I see it in a different way, and I understand that maybe this person is not doing right by me, or kind of seeing things in a way that I'm supposed to see things. So I mean, I would highly recommend therapy for, anybody who's in pain and wants to talk to somebody or feels like they just want to, you might just go once and you realize it's not, but you try it. But I think if you're to the point where you can't get out of bed and you're finding yourself, I mean, at that point, I think, you can go to the emergency room as well and explain to them what's happening. I mean, take care of yourself. If your heart was hurting and you were in so much pain, you would go to the emergency room. If you're in so much pain that you're not able to function and do your normal functioning, go and see somebody. Go and talk to somebody.
Thank you for that. Because, again, we go back to, I shouldn't have used the word normal because it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, that, when you lose someone, hell, me cutting out milk in my coffee in the morning hurts some days.
Yeah.
So losing someone in your life who's so significant really is, it's painful. So go and just have have a top up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's time in our society in Cayman that we have those sessions, go in and help someone to reframe our thoughts, challenge the way we think.
Yeah.
And if you work with government, if you work any big employment agency, they have EAP.
Yeah.
And then you have the counseling center, and there's one more, that I can't remember that you can get for free in Cayman. Maybe it's just the counseling center and EAP. And then, of course, go to the hospital, like you said.
Yeah. And most insurance nowadays will cover at least a few sessions. So, yeah.
What are some practical tools and daily practices that help people move from grief without feeling overwhelmed by it?
I mean, I'm not a clinician, but I think that everybody should practice breathing exercises. And, nowadays you can go online and you can find either, box breathing, deep breathing, on your watch, on your phone. There's apps that will help you breathe. I mean, if anybody has ever just really taken a deep breath and held it for a second and let it go, that right there releases so much tension in your body. And I think, finding something that allows you to be mindful and go within yourself, meditation is obviously really powerful. I think that do whatever helps you get through what you need to get through. So I think walking, and that's on the healthy side, because obviously we can tend to look at the negative sides when we're feeling sad. We can, turn to drugs or alcohol or things that are not healthy, or just binge watching TV 24 hours a day, these things, and they're not going to help us. They're obviously going to throw us deeper into where we're going. Just get out, take a walk, get some fresh air, breathe, meditate, obviously talk to someone, and be social when you can. I mean, alienating yourself is not a good thing. I think that's really important. And look for people in your life that if you're noticing, and that doesn't mean going and pulling them out. Sometimes people aren't ready to be pulled out, and sometimes people do need to be alone. It's just finding that balance. And, being alone for too long is never a good thing for anybody. So we watch your family and friends for that as well. And that doesn't mean that you're taking them to a party, but you might just go sit with them so that they're not by themselves. So I think that's really important for people to understand, especially young people. If they're alone for too long, you want to watch people that are alienating themselves for long periods.
Yeah, this Christmas season, it's been kind of rough because I've had more Christmas parties. I'm not like the biggest social butterfly you will ever meet, and I did not want to go. I almost said, no, I'm not going to go. In fact, I said, no, I'm not going to go. And then I challenged myself to go and make the Christmas events about the other person, asking them what are they going to do for Christmas, or what does 2026 look like for them. And it brought me so much joy just to do that and be around people rather than just stay at home and alienate.
Yeah, and sometimes we do have to push ourselves. I say if you don't feel like going, don't go. But then there's a balance with that as well, because we don't always feel like going a lot of places. But I have been the same. I pushed myself. The first year after Addie, I pushed myself and I went to a few things, and I ended up, letting your mind go somewhere else and be somewhere else for a little while is also a good thing. Yeah.
And I love what you said about meditation and walking, movement, rather than sitting there and marinating and eating and drinking, although it's easier to do those things.
Yes.
And no judgment if you do. Well, is healing possible? Because, last year you lost your mom.
Yeah. I think, what I think is that I think it's really important for people to honor their loved ones. And I think that, obviously I have, I've created a walk in Addie's honor. I've done some things, but everybody doesn't need to do big things. You can honor your loved ones in all sorts of different ways. You can honor them by doing little things that, would make them happy, or like I'm ziplining. That's me doing something, but in my heart, I'm honoring her, and, wear their favorite color, keep something that's specifically for them, take that with you when you go somewhere. Like, there's all sorts of things that we can do to honor our loved ones. And I think that's a huge part of healing, because remembering your loved ones is so important. We all want to be remembered, and we all want to remember our loved ones. And I think that's a big part of the whole kind of ritual of healing. There's a lot of rituals with healing. I think one thing that we do really well in our society is honoring our loved ones through services. We do funeral services and we have memorial services. Those things are important because they mark something significant, and we do really nice programs, and we have all of those things are really important in honoring our loved ones, and we need to continue doing those kind of things, and then also find our other ways. And like I said, it could just be doing something on Christmas Day that person would have really enjoyed, or you do something that they used to do and you let somebody else do that. But when you're doing it, you're saying, okay, this is in honor of this person. Because I think one of the biggest parts of healing is making sure that we honor them, name them, and and just remember them and a lot of what we do. And that right there is helpful in healing so much.
What message would you leave to someone who is grieving right now or supporting someone who is?
I think one of the things is let people be sad if they need to be sad. Again, a society that we live in, we always want to cheer everybody up, and we think if we can make somebody smile, that's going to be amazing. But if they don't smile, people need to process their grief, and crying and being sad sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. But we live in this society where we feel like if we need to cheer everybody up. So if someone, I think that can be very hard for people who are really in deep grief, to be in the presence of someone that their whole goal is to cheer them up. And then they feel like it's their responsibility to be happy because they're making the other person sad. So let people be sad. And that doesn't mean talking about their sadness. They're just sitting with someone and being with someone and allowing them to be. Because we all of those things are important. Being sad isn't a bad thing. It's honoring. We miss people. We're sad because they're not here. Obviously, again, balance and not being stuck there all the time. But I do think we need to move away from constantly trying to make somebody feel better all the time.
And if you see someone out who's recently lost someone, should you avoid them or should you?
I think people need to be comfortable. I wrote, I think about 5 months after we lost Addie that, I would see people in the grocery store and I knew they saw me and I knew they actively avoided me and I didn't take it personally. I am not sure I would have known what to say if the roles were reversed. So I understood that. Some people just did not know what to say. But, I also appreciated people coming up and saying, I don't know what to say. I love you. I feel for you. I'm sorry. I'm here for you and, sending my love to you or whatever, but I don't know what to say. And people don't know what to say. That's fine. I think being honest with people is probably the best thing. And again, don't compare. That's one of the things that, don't walk up to them and say, well, I know exactly how you feel because I lost. You don't. No. You don't know how they feel. You could say, I can imagine. I imagine this is very painful, or I'm sure this is very painful because it is very painful. You can say things like that, but obviously not to compare with them because that's not fair either.
Yeah. Thank you so much, RHONDA. I really appreciate you sharing your experience, your heart, and your wisdom today. Your openness is a reminder that grief isn't something to get over. Yes. It is something we learn to carry, and we carry it better when we are not carrying it alone. Thank you for being on For the Health of It. I'm Tara Bush. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind to one another. We'll see you next time. We are moving you to the life you want.
If you or your loved one is facing cancer, only Sylvester will stand firmly by your side at every step, from diagnosis through survivorship, providing you and your family peace of mind and assisting with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center is South Florida's only NCI-designated cancer center and specializes in treating the most complex cancer cases. Your first-class cancer care is just a flight away. Learn more at sylvester.org.
When I first started going to Healthcare Pharmacy, it was because it was convenient. But over the years, I continued to shop there because I trusted them. One day I was picking up my prescription, and the pharmacist noticed an over-the-counter medication in my basket. She said, I hope that's not yours. It will interact with your prescription. And I thought, wow, thank you. Trust is so important when it comes to your health. Healthcare Pharmacy with 2 locations, Grand Harbor and Governors Square, where they care about my health.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush. Brought to you by the Health Services Authority. Caring people, quality service. Visit hsa.ky.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health. 2 locations, Governors Square and Grand Harbor. Refill and transfer prescriptions online. Call 947-8900 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky. Also brought to you by Cayman Medical Center, Cayman's most awarded private medical clinic.
And U Health, International University of Miami.
World-class healthcare in the heart of Miami.
The Light Room, your holistic sanctuary for physical and mental restoration, repair, and rejuvenation. The power that made the body heals the body. 38 Pasadora Place, Georgetown. Find us online at www.thelightroom.ky or call 938-HEAL.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Information, entertainment, inspiration.
Covering Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, Cayman Brac.
Since 1976 till now.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
The holidays are here, a time for family, friends, fun and festivities. But for people who are experiencing the pain of the loss of a loved one, are away from family or ill, the holidays can be lonely and difficult. This holiday season, take time to share and care with those around you, and remember to be safe. Have a designated driver and enjoy the season.